Hey guys, how you doing? Welcome back to my channel. As I promised, getting back into this podcast. Now I've got Kerry here today, Kerry Whiteman, yes, from Pack Leader. Where are you at? Where are you located at?
I'm located at Beechwood, but I do the whole area.
Okay, cool. Kerry's been doing it for, actually don't know how many years you've been training dogs.
12 years.
12 years, long time, okay. So I was doing it a long time ago, moved away for a few years, come back, and then a few other dog trainers around, and Kerry's in the area. So we've been talking back and forth a while about getting together, talking about dog training and the current sort of state of dog training, but a little bit about, firstly, a little bit about maybe our similarities. Really the similarity is we both use what works in dog training, if that makes sense. We'll use positive, we'll use leads, we'll use slip leads, we'll use whatever works for a dog. Nothing about cruelty, but we're very much the same on that level. Probably I always place that as sort of probably old school dog training, because the new school dog training is all very, as we know, force free, positive only.
Yep.
So look, we're not the only dog trainers like that, but that's a little bit about how our similarities are. But it's not a bad thing to have differences as well. But we just wanted to chat about a few things, because I put a post on my page about what people want to hear about. And I got a little list here, but what I want to start with for both of us is really have a chat about the current state of dog training. So what I mean by that, Kerry, is obviously the big thing we hear about now is the force-free, positive-only sort of community versus what they label balanced dog training. Now I listened to another trainer recently talk about how he doesn't like the label, and I agree. Why are we called balanced? Why are we just dog trainers? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Labelling's about, I don't think it's a great thing in life in general, labelling things. But a little rundown, what your opinion is, maybe tell me some of the difficulties you deal with, maybe that you've come across dealing with people who've tried certain methods and come to you, or people being closed-minded about methods, anything, you know?
I think the biggest thing is, as you said, you have to do what's best for the dog in front of you.
Yep.
And if you're limiting yourself in any way, then you're going to be limiting the dog's progress.
100% agree.
So for me, you obviously aren't going to use certain tools on a Chihuahua that you're going to use on a Great Dane and things like that.
Yep.
So if you get to somebody's house or somebody comes to see you and you assess the dog, within that first couple of minutes, you're like, well, I'll use this tool. We'll see how we go. Obviously, the owner has to be on board, but then I think it's up to us to explain why you're doing certain things, why you're using certain tools.
Yeah.
And then when they see the results, they're like, oh, okay,
Exactly.
well, I'll go and get that then.
Yeah.
It's nothing over the top. It's not to be cruel to a dog.
No.
Nothing like that. You've got to be compassionate to the dog. But the dog also has to be in a frame of mind when you're using a tool to be able to learn while you're there during that session. If you're using tools and you're doing things that you're not supposed to be doing, then the dog's probably going to shut down. You're not going to get anything out of it anyway.
Yeah.
So for me, especially when you see somebody for the first time, you've got to leave the owner with, well, that worked.
Yeah.
So, and I can build on that. And then as long as I'm consistent with that particular tool, then your dog's going to get better.
Yeah. I 100% agree. I often start a session, and go, look, I'll say to people, you might have come here with a preconceived idea about certain equipment. Yeah. But all I ask you to do is have an open mind. People get very married to ideas in life and go, this is the only way. And I just say, look, you may see me use a slip lead, a head harness, whatever, old school check chain, choke chain, what people want to call it, whatever it is. I said, but you've also maybe been exposed to a bad way to use it. So please have an open mind. And I agree with you. Sure enough, 20 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour later, they're like, it's not what I thought it was. It's really not. Because, look, on that note, I recently got, not the word attacked, but I got harassed a little bit online by a certain community because I had a video of a golden retriever collapsed on the ground on a flat collar, wouldn't move, the typical golden retriever. And it was cruel, it wasn't horrible. Yeah, it was nothing. I was and I was even laughing in the video. But anyway, I got attacked for that. And then one of my clients got on board, and I'm very emotional when I respond. She'd come back with a great response. She said, look, a butter knife can be used to spread butter, or you could stab someone with it. In other words, you can use a slip lead the right way.
I've seen somebody use a piece of rope wrong.
Absolutely. I watched a guy today with a harness who was trying to walk past my dog. He had to lift the dog off the ground. Why? Because a harness has no accountability. So the dog could just do anything, and he's just trying to lift it with a harness, and it was off the ground, and it was still coughing and spluttering and things like that. But I don't want to digress too much into that, but I want to keep on where we're at, where, yes, it can be a battle, and you've got to explain to people, look, be open-minded and just give it a chance, because...
Well, I think it's also, too, whatever tool you're using is a tool to teach And then once the dog learns how to do certain things on that tool, then there's no pressure. So it's about pressure and release. I'm used to working dogs. It's pressure, release, pressure, release.
What people don't understand about some of these pieces of equipment, let's talk about a slip lead for a minute, is you can actually use less pressure on a slip lead than you do on a flat collar. Because a flat collar, the way I tend to demonstrate a lot of people, if I did it on them physically, I'd go, a flat collar's like me touching you like that, and a slip lead's like this. It's not about being more difficult, more painful, but it's more accountable and it gives me better communication with the dog.
Yep.
And there's a reason they work, and let's be real, like if you have, let's say, a 40-kilo German Shepherd out of control, the reality of controlling that dog with a treat, with a flat collar, with a harness is little to nothing. You're going to struggle.
Yeah.
Because you can't hold the dog accountable. Now, some people will transfer that word to you want to be cruel to the dog. No, but I can't allow a dog to be in public being aggressive, potentially attacking people. I get that dogs are instinctive and opportunistic and predatory, but they live in our society, so we have to have them under control. In an ideal world, they'd all be off lead and running around and sort themselves out. But, you know, what I want to say to some people that want to sort of talk about equipment, I want to go, here's the lead, here's the dog, do your best. And I think very quickly a lot of people go, oh, I can't do that, you need to fix this dog. That's all I ask, is that people that want to get online and talk about trainers like ourselves or many others, understand that you've probably never trained a dog in your life, a difficult dog in your life, and never really been tested. You've got a high food drive, Labrador, whatever, that lives for food and will focus on food in public. But I've got a black lab, he won't even focus on food in public, he's quite reactive.
But you're not going to have food on you all the time.
No, you're not. And that's what I say to people. I feel, another saying I tend to say to people is, I don't believe the power of food. I believe you lose probably 90% of the power of food once you cross your front door, once you go in public. The dog might eat it, but let's face it, when a dog's aggressive, anxious, reactive, food just becomes non-existent.
They can't even smell it.
You can try and put it in their mouth and they'll look around it and it's a battle. So, yeah, so it can be a battle, but the big thing I've seen online lately, I don't know how much you've followed, with Zach George, a very prominent force-free trainer, coming hard against Dog Daddy, I think it is, attacking him online. Look, do I agree with some of the things that say of Dog Daddy? I actually don't. I think it's quite over the top. But I also understand the dogs he's dealing with and the methods you might have to use.
He's not dealing with happy-go-lucky dogs
that
just run around off lead and are sociable.
No, he's dealing with dogs that nobody else wants to deal with anymore. So, you know, it doesn't mean I agree with everything, but I see why he tries to do what he does.
Yeah.
And let's face it, the reality is you don't have that many people come to you or follow you if you're not getting results. You get exposed pretty quick. So, you know, coming after someone like that badly, I don't mind if someone doesn't like my method, your method, anyone's method, but you don't need to be on a keyboard. You don't need, just do your thing, they do their thing. Provided
or ask questions.
Yeah, learn.
Maybe send a message and go, why do you do that? How do you do that?
But you know he's been challenged many times by people to come and talk to him and it doesn't happen, he won't, and that's what he wants to do, and that's him, and it gets him clicks or likes. But I don't agree with I don't agree with attacking anyone online, whether you'd like the training methods or not.
I've never made a negative comment online in my entire life.
Yeah.
I just scroll past.
yeah, it can be a real battle. So I want to talk quickly about, there's a lot more we could talk about that, and maybe we'll go another podcast talk about that, but today I want to cover a few topics. So a little bit on one thing about equipment misconceptions, and probably we've covered it a little bit. One that comes to mind for me would be a slip lead misconception. Check chain, slip lead, very similar training tool. What do you think are some of the misconceptions with it? What people think about them, what they think they are?
I think a lot of people aren't quite sure how to use them.
Yeah.
In the sense that, how many dogs have you seen being walked that do have a check chain on and they're the whole time? Obviously that person's not quite sure how to use it, because the idea of it is to hang there a bit loose with your dog walking beside you, and if they go too far in front or they try to go away from you, you do a correction, dog comes back, you release it. It's not, the tool is not going to do everything for you. You have to manage the tool.
Yeah,
you have to work the tool.
Yeah, that's a battle I see people have. They think buying a slip lead will just fix everything.
It's just going to do everything.
I say, look, they're good, but you've got to know how to use them. They are technical. You've got to know that, the pressure release, like you said.
And you have to have it on the right way. How many times have you seen somebody and you're like, oh, this is on the wrong way? And they're like, I didn't know there was a right and a wrong way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, so on that, do your study, guys. You can use a P or whichever you want to do, P or a 9, whatever.
Or a Q, whatever it is.
Yeah, there's a method to knowing how to put it on. We're not going to talk about it now, but check out how to put your slip leads on, check chains, whatever you're using on your dogs, put them on the right way. Otherwise, you will correct it and it won't release.
Yeah.
And then you create a fight between your dogs that shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
There's this constant pull and the dog goes,
Well, they're going to
how
get
do I turn
frustrated.
you off?
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
I think also too, it's one of those things that a dog has to learn that there's an end to a lead.
Yep.
So if you've got a dog out pulling, no matter what tool you've got on it, and you're just allowing them to pull, the dog never puts 2 and 2 together, that there's an end to it. If I actually come back, I release the tension. So that's where sort of the lead work comes in. And the
Yeah. But that'd be the misconception, I agree with it. And that's probably the main one. The sort of check chain, slip lead thing. That's probably the biggest misconception. Head harnesses, head halters, I think they're a great training tool as well. I think they work really well for bad pulling dogs. Some dogs don't love them. They feel funny on their nose and whatever. My only thing with that is what I don't find a head harness does, it doesn't educate the dog well. It stops them pulling, but it doesn't educate. So a slip lead is an education. It's a pressure release, you do this and you avoid it. As much as head harnesses do the work, if someone only has that and doesn't also learn to handle a dog, they haven't learnt a lot. So take the equipment away and they don't know anything. There's more education that comes with a slip lead, hence makes you a better dog handler, trainer, or whatever you want to call it. Okay, another one, Kerry, is people asking about anxiety and barking. Like, basic comment was dog walking down the street, seeing another dog, and causes the dog to bark. It's not a quick answer, I understand that. We could talk about it for ages, and talking about it's not really going to fix it. But just in short, what would maybe a bit of advice that you would give to someone that's walking on the street, let's say it's a fear-based anxiety.
Right.
Fear-based, but not an outwardly aggressive dog, a nervous dog.
Yep.
Quick tip, what you would do, and there's many, but something you'd maybe give advice to talk about that.
So I find a lot of people get anxious that their dog's doing it and maybe want to get past it as quickly as possible and then it's over and done with.
Yeah.
And the dog hasn't learnt anything.
Exactly.
What I tend to do is I actually tend to, and I've done it, I've backed up somebody's driveway to give another dog, even across the road, passing. I think it's one of those things that you can't always stop it in the middle of what the dog's going through. Understanding that, it's kind of like you've got to ride the wave and then it comes back down again. But the more that you do that, the more that you understand the pressure or the distance that your dog is comfortable with, and you can distance that, you can make that further away by backing up somebody's driveway.
But you're not running away.
You're not running away.
There's a difference. People think we're saying here, I didn't want to interrupt, but we're not saying redirect and go that way.
No.
We're saying, I'm all for it. Make some space, find a threshold where it works, but we're not fixing problems if we go, quick, turn around and go that way. How do we ever go for a walk if that happens?
Because what happens is your dog will probably start walking away but start looking backwards and start pulling you back towards that dog. So a dog has to understand that to see another dog, they ride that wave. I guess the biggest thing you're looking for is that how quickly is your dog recovering every time they see a dog? If your dog's recovering better and better and better, then they are learning something. But it's also one of those things that if you have the right tool on that you can control, which to me, I don't use harnesses at all. I don't think they give you any control.
I could have a bin full of them I could have burnt, Kerry, but anyway.
So it's...
But you do agree accountability is important. Like,
of course.
This is where people don't understand, and tell me if you agree on this. You can have a fear-based reactive dog that I understand is nervous and barking. But what I say to owners like, okay, he's scared. But that doesn't give him a free pass to be crazy in front of this dog. I would say, okay, be scared, no worries, but you still got to sit, be quiet. You can sit there and be nervous. But what I call that reactivity with that, it's not allowable because there's no real threat there from that dog. Different if that dog was running at it, was going to attack it. But that dog's 10 metres away. So, and what I find people do is they go, oh, but he's a rescue, he's a hard life. So he sits there and we go, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. We have to go, buddy, I know you've had a tough life, but oi, quit it. Let that dog go by. And what, and I know I've found, I know you would have found, when you do that with a dog, they then actually manage to calm down and take a breath.
Somebody's taking control of the situation.
And they realise they're not having to either protect you or be scared. You've got their back. And the dog goes, okay, mum's got my back, dad's got my back. They're strong, they're a good leader, I can relax.
They'll look after me, they'll look after the situation. And
I think people sort of get it confused with these particularly rescue dogs that have had trauma. And again, another analogy of mine would be like, if you had a trauma in your life, to get past that, if I was your therapist, I'm not going to say, Kerry, go and hide in your bedroom and just avoid the world. Yeah. I'm going to say in time, Kerry, we need to talk about it. Now I've got to take you back there.
Yep.
Within risk, we're going to work at a distance and we're going to work slow, but you're going to get through this.
Yep.
If we do that for humans, why can't we do that for dogs? I think people anthropomorphise things too much. They put a lot of human qualities into animals, and we're comparing apples to oranges, how we communicate and they communicate, and that's where it's been the blur the lines now with this certain style of dog training. Dogs don't think like us.
No.
And again, and I'm sure you've experienced this. I've had a dog, many dogs that I've trained, within minutes of having that lead being firm, confident, good leader, that dog looks up to me like I'm a god. Like
I was just going to say before, when you go and
my
see
God.
somebody and you're working with their dog on a lead that they haven't been able to get to, within a couple of seconds you can correct a dog or do something with the lead and they give you eye contact. And I always say to people, that's what I want from the dog. I want the dog to look at you.
They love the direction. They go, oh, finally, someone who's taking control.
Yeah.
Okay, there's a line. We're not being cruel, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm always taught to be a firm but fair leader. When you've got what I call, like, just say German Shepherd. I look, being ex-army, I look at German Shepherds as a soldier, and you're the sergeant. And if you're not, you have a soldier who's out of control, and they do what they want. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we're not trying to be cruel, but we need people to understand out there that you have to know your breed. You and I talked about this yesterday, and we could have recorded that conversation. Let's talk about that for a minute. I digress, but it's a good point to talk about. People buying breeds, but not really understanding them. I'll give you a couple that stand out to me a lot. And there's probably, I'll say one because there's a few particular. Let's say American Staffy.
Yep.
People that buy Staffies that can be beautiful, sweet, affectionate dogs, but let's face it, they're a powerhouse.
They have an extra level.
Dogs come into my daycare, the American Staffy, and I swear other dogs go, oh no, not because they're scared guys, but because they go, this guy plays rough. They're full on. There are a lot of dogs.
They do. They bump dogs. They play. They bump into them. They want to get them going. Yeah.
They love it.
Yeah.
So people buying these breeds and not knowing how to handle them. You know, it's like me. I'm not a Formula One driver. So can I go and buy a Formula One car to my driver? No, I don't know how. I'm big on analogies for some reason, but it makes sense. You know what I mean? I can't because I'm not qualified at it. I would crash that car.
Yep.
So tell me a breed maybe you've come across a few times that you see come up often, and it may not be even like prey-driven, aggressive. It may just be dogs that people can't handle. Is there any that come to your mind?
Well, my background is working dogs. I've got a Kelpie. I've had 2 Kelpies before.
Yeah.
I'm on my 3rd Kelpie.
Yep.
I used to live out at Stock and Dingle, live on a property, working dogs.
Yep.
So I understand them very well. Now, you can get some really lazy Kelpies. My dog loves to run around. We go out to the forest for walks.
Yep.
You know, she's good at home with the ball. She loves chasing the ball. She loves playing with other dogs. Given the chance, she'll probably sleep on the couch most of the day.
Yeah.
So she's a medium.
Yep.
But then you get high level, and I've got a couple of clients that have high level energy Kelpies, where when they're fixed on something, like a lot of breeds, you can't get her attention. She's getting better. We're doing a lot of work. She's getting better, and the owners are doing a lot of work. But she would have been a great dog on a farm.
I've got a little dog here like this now, Charlie, that comes here. Owners have got, they're great owners. This dog, again, would have been, we're doing traffic reactivity. He is intense. And I've got them, they're great owners. I've said, look, you need to understand this dog can't help this. It's in
it's
his
genetics.
DNA.
It's genetics.
He can't get sheep, so next best thing to him is a car.
Yep.
He's coming a long way, but I'm very honest in saying, we can't expect miracles with this dog because it just can't be done. It's in his, we're going to get him better, and we are, but there's going to be a ceiling to that level.
Yep.
And because we can't take the working dog out of him.
That's right.
But on the point you said about your Kelpie being calm, whatever, a lot of that I feel would also come from you as an owner too, though. Because you know how to own a dog and handle a dog, that calmness gets created because you brought the dog up. And as much as some dogs are more
And I only got her at
drive,
8 months.
Yeah.
I didn't have her from 8 weeks. So she came from a family with 3 kids.
Yeah.
Outside dog, never been inside.
Yeah.
I picked her up. I took her straight out to the forest. We did a 2-hour walk. Brought her home, let her have a drink, popped her straight into a crate. That was the first time she'd ever been in a crate. And she slept in a crate every night since. And she's over 3 now. Yeah. So.
But do you think her in the wrong hand, like my dog Nash in the wrong hands, would be a nightmare? He's got so much energy. He's great for me. I run, I train, I got a daycare and everything. Yep. In the wrong hands, people will go, this dog's broken. I'm like, there's nothing wrong with him. because a post I put up recently about, I don't like the word fix in dog training. Don't get me wrong, there's things that can be fixed, but most of it is managing, especially reactivity. We're managing reactivity.
Structure and management.
They're not broken, so there's nothing to fix.
No.
They're a dog being a dog. And yeah, that's important that people remember these sorts of things.
I think it's also important, especially if you've got a high level energy dog, no matter what breed it is, because you could have a Chihuahua that's high energy, is giving them the opportunity, which is why I do like crate training, giving them the opportunity to switch off.
Yep.
They need to, a dog can't be on all the time, otherwise they're crazy. You've got to give them some time to go, hey, just knock it off, lay down, have a sleep, whatever it is, contain them, and then they've got to have a few seconds or a minute or two to go, you know what, actually I'm pretty tired. I'll have it.
You got to force that quietness.
Yeah.
Otherwise they just don't do it. Yeah. So something you and I talked about yesterday I want to quickly cover. It's not one of the topics, but we talked about it. Just people and puppies, and for me it seems to be a constant battle. Just constantly getting people to go, slow down, expect less. And we said, like a lot of people ring me and go, oh, and they go, oh, he's trained, he's 12 weeks, he sits, stays down. I went, he's not trained, he's introduced to you. I went, and then they'll go, oh, but he doesn't come back. I went, whoa. What could you do at 12 weeks old?
Yeah.
What could you do? Nothing. You lay there and poop your pants and lay there and do nothing.
Yeah.
And you want your dog to sit, heel, come, stand, cut, whatever it is.
Yeah. Their brain can't take in
they just can't, can they?
too much information.
No matter how good a trainer you are, they'll go, oh, bird. And that's okay.
As I said, my analogy is basically, you can be getting your dog to sit, you can have a treat, and a butterfly goes past. They've got the attention span of a nit. It's gone. It's gone. So if your dog is...
Say I had a 16-week-old puppy, and I said my dog can sit for 5 seconds, can come back 5 meters, and he's nearly doing drop or down. Would that be good?
Great.
Exactly.
Great.
Exactly. I think that's where you're going
Two
sort
things.
of then.
Two things,
you know what
that's
I mean?
great.
Like, he can sort it down, he can run 5 meters to me, and he can stay for 5 seconds.
Yep.
A dog staying for 5 seconds as a puppy, people, is eternity to a puppy.
That's good.
It's good, so we
But
need...
it's one of those things that also too, obviously, usually you're feeding your puppy twice a day.
Yeah.
That's 14 times a week that you're feeding your dog without doing more training on top of that. That's 14 times a week that you can just put a few treats in a bowl, get them to sit. As soon as they pop their bottom on the ground, bang.
Easy. Mark it, reward it, do it again, and before you know it, your dog does it.
Yep.
And I'm pretty straight up with people, and I say the real truth. And the truth is, people don't get results because they don't do the work. If in 7 days, like last night I started a program, and if in 7 days I said to them, you come back next week and your dog can't stay on place for probably 30 seconds, because place is, I find a lot easier. Because it's bigger, it's often, like they know it's an identifier. Yeah, it's something.
Yep.
If you go and do 30 seconds in a week, you haven't done enough training.
Yep.
In a place, come on. Not so much a static stay, not moving, that's tough. But laying down on a bed, you've got to do the work, and people want results with very little. I've had people ring me and go, my dog doesn't come back, and I go, how much training have you done? They go, well, none. I go, your dog's not born knowing what recall is come. Oh, well, but I just yell at it and it doesn't come. I go, well, if I yelled at you and you come to me and I told you off, I'll punch you in the face, would you come back? No. So you've got to understand, you need to teach the word come to your dog. You know how you teach your kids the word?
And do it on a long lead. Don't do it off lead so the dog decides to go, well, I'll just go over this way.
Last night I talked about the kit in dog trade. I said, there's some things you can get away with not having. The one you can't get away with not having is a long lead.
Yeah.
You can't enforce your commands.
You can't.
You're going to stand there screaming, but people just keep wondering why a dog doesn't want to, and then, they'll call it for, let's say, 2 minutes, and then eventually it comes, and I go, what do you do? And they go, well, I tell it next time you come, I'll tell you. I go, we're just telling your dog off for coming to you. Why doesn't it want to come to you next time?
It's like at the beach. If your dog doesn't come back for 10, 15 minutes and you eventually get it back, just clip the lead on and go home.
Yeah.
Don't rouse on it.
I know. And it's a battle, Kerry. It's a battle. That's why people need us. But I don't want to talk about too much specifics on that. One more thing we'll talk about quickly today. We've got a few things. Separation anxiety. Okay. I'll give you a choice. We've got... one lady sent me a story, okay? I'll ask your opinion on this. She said, just recently the police come through her backyard at night time looking for someone, like chasing through her yard, okay?
Right.
And her dogs reacted really badly to it and become barky and got scared and whatever. Now since then, her story is that it never used to happen. Now since then, now in the backyard at night time they hear any of those highly reactive.
Right.
and they're reacting to it. It's asking me, she said, do I think this is through to a fear or is it being protective? And that's a bit of a hard one to answer, you know,
Probably
because
all of the above.
yeah, it's a bit of everything, you know.
Startled.
It's the unknown. How
Never happened before.
Yeah, and they've probably been, and if they're young, they've been imprinted with that now. But I think she also people understand that, you know, dogs are designed to do a job. They're probably going to react no matter what comes through your yard.
Do you know what breed it was?
No, she didn't tell me the breed. No, not at all. But she said, but since then it's a really bad problem now. So any noise,
right,
they react over the top because it gave them such a scare. And I haven't really thought about it until now, what advice I would give her if I went to her house and what she'd do to work through that. What's your thoughts on that one? Bit of a tricky one.
Number one, I would say we don't know when this happened. Give it time.
Yeah, for sure.
Give it time. Training in the backyard.
Would you advise maybe if they do hear a noise, it isn't bad, to let them investigate and go out and maybe understand that it's not a thing to scare it? Or would you correct the dog from, because you know, like, and again, you agree or not agree, it's fine. I believe dogs are very binary. They've got to learn can or can't. There's no grey areas. So would maybe a way I think would be like, if you know it's a nothing, we're going to teach it. It's a bit like when you're doing scent detection.
Go out and investigate.
Yeah, but it's a bit like doing scent detection where you go, they can have, you know, false reactions and they're not to react to old scents and things like that. And I think you can educate a dog what they can react to, what they can't. But the tricky thing is it's a sound. So that's going to be hard to identify a sound. So maybe investigating might be a good way to do it.
Well, even say if I've got dogs at my place and I've got an empty paddock behind me, and sometimes there's roos and whatnot, and they might go down and have a bit of a bark. I always go down, check out, because one day it might just be somebody's there.
Yeah.
So I don't want to call the dog away from the fence. I also don't call dogs away from fences when they're barking. I go down and investigate and go, hey, knock it off, it's all good.
Yeah, I think
then walk the dog away from the fence.
I think I'd agree with you. I would investigate and then I'd just have a good leave it or quiet, whatever command you want to use. Okay, I think the primary thing is with any reactivity with backyard, door knocks, whatever, I'm okay with my dogs barking at the door, as long as I say leave it and they stop.
Yeah.
That's fine. So, because I think it's literally impossible, nearly, unless you're using certain equipment, to stop a dog barking at a door knock or certain things, because they're very designed to do it.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know this lady, but to you, if you watch this, I think, like Kerry and I said, give it time firstly, good advice. Maybe let them investigate and work on having a good leave it. So they have a bark, you can almost go, okay, thank you, no worries. And then you give a good leave it, and then it will be accountability. So anything past the leave it, they're put in given a correction, sent to a plate, whatever it is, whatever your accountability is. The big thing is, guys, we can't all be words. The big thing we do agree on is got to be some physicality to your corrections with a dog. Whether it be grabbing a collar, putting him in a sit, having a slip lead, small correction, a little touch on the, whatever it is. If you're all talk, you don't get any action. I have a thing I say that if a consequence doesn't create engagement, there was no consequence. So if the consequence is leave it and you don't get a sorry about that, and the dog dismisses you and didn't take you serious.
There's got to be a follow-through.
It's a bit like telling kids to turn the TV down and they don't even look at you. As a parent, you wouldn't go, oh, no worries. You'd go over and go, hey, I said turn the TV down, and you'd do it.
And I think that's got a lot to do with it. I think it's your energy.
Yeah.
Definitely.
For sure.
And it is the consequence, which is basically the follow-through. Dogs understand follow-through.
They really do. And you see owners go, oh, that's amazing. And you and I would both go, it's not really that amazing. Like in your head, it's not. It's really not. It's pretty simple, but they don't have the skills and they're here, they need help, and I get that. But dog training it's really not rocket science. It's consistency, it's doing the repetitions, being patient, accountability.
It's doing the work. It's just doing the work.
Just doing it. A bit like if you want to lose weight, you can't eat hamburgers every day.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
You know?
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that if I say to a dog, hey, knock it off, and they don't, I'm going to go over and address it.
Absolutely.
So they know that it's coming.
Yeah.
And it might just be standing in front of them going, hey.
But it's spatial pressure. Some people say to me, but I can't catch them. I go, you know what? It doesn't even matter. If they know you're going to go after them often that's enough. They go, whoa.
Yeah.
I don't want them to come after me. They didn't catch me, but that was a bit scary. So
if you can't correct your dog from here to the street by going, hey, enough.
Yeah.
Go,
no, that's a big point. I really agree on that. That accountability. If you got to say what you mean and mean what you say. You've got to do it. You know.
Because dogs correct each other.
100%. I see it every day. I did a good video yesterday of my dog meeting a dog, There's a lot of tail up and walking around, but good sniffing, good stiffness, and then it worked to being friends, and the owner loved it. I talked to you about it. There was a lot of growling, a lot of grumbling, but I know my dog, and I knew that dog, and I just let it be. They sorted it out within 2 minutes, and they were just walking around sharing sticks.
And there's different levels of that as well. I mean, I mine clients' dogs, so, you know, I'm sitting out the back the last 2 weekends with 5 dogs. They have to understand that it's my house, it's my backyard, I'm in control, and if you step outside of the boundaries that I've set for play, which is there's a limit, there's going to be a consequence. And it might just be, hey, knock it off. They go, whew.
No different to a bunch of little kids sitting on the ground playing here, and 2 of them play a bit rough, you'd probably go, hey, you guys, settle down, and they go back to playing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because I don't know how much you follow and do here, but the common belief now, again through a certain community, is there's no hierarchy, no pack leader, like there's no order in dogs, there's no dominance isn't a real thing.
So dogs are just all walking around the earth with no structure.
Yeah, so that's why when you go to the beach, you see people own 4 dogs, all the 4 dogs stick together. Why is that? Because they're what? They're a pack of animals, and they stick together, they love each other.
Well, I always say to people, if the sun rose over Port Macquarie tomorrow and we'd all disappeared, all of our dogs would have their packs sorted out within 24 to 48 hours.
I see it every day in daycare. They see each other, they walk through the yard, bump, push, growl, grumble. Okay, 5 minutes later, we're all settled again. Yep. I see it all the time, you know, so I think that's a crazy thing to say. And again, that's coming from people who really don't train difficult dogs, train easy dogs.
Or aren't around groups of dogs all of the time to watch that interaction.
It just really frustrates me that people are trying certain methods and getting very upset. I've had many people cry in front of me because they've just tried things and get really heartbroken and give up. It's not up, not over yet. We can do this, and you know, and you do a session and you get good results, and the rest is history.
You've got to start somewhere.
You've got to be open-minded, like we spoke at the start. You know, please be open-minded. Last thing, barking when walking. So barking at dogs. I know my big thing on that is I'm very big on being preemptive. You know it's going to happen. Be on to your dog before. If it's a big problem, don't allow it to build. You know, let your dog, you know, watch no different to walking along. If you see your dog's mouth shut, leans forward, little, oh, don't do it, and dog goes, okay. But if it loses their mind, they're hard to pull back.
Yeah, I think those physical signals that maybe people don't pick up on, like the dog that I'm watching is the dog, instead of, you know, just going,
mouth closes.
That's what I'm watching. That's what I'm watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they miss that, and then they miss maybe the tail coming up or tail going down, and then
or the head goes down, or the ears go forward, because then people say it came from nowhere.
I get that all the time.
It didn't come from nowhere.
There was nothing. They just went up and attacked each other. I was downtown a few months ago and we're watching 2 people, true story, true as a big bull mastiff, big Roddy. Right at the end of the lead, the owners walk over, let the dog come nose to nose.
Nose to nose.
And I'm watching it.
Tension on the lead.
I'm watching it, and they're going, and I hear them talking, going, oh, they like each other. I'm like watching from a distance.
Watch it.
Then Kerry, the tails come up. They go, oh, then they start circling.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it's going, where you think it's going.
It's getting worse.
Then the head goes over top.
Oh, no.
Then the dogs go berserk, and then what happens? Oh my God, what was that from? What happened there?
Yeah.
And the lady walks away and walks like this to the next dog.
No.
Yeah.
Your dog doesn't need to meet other dogs on a walk.
That I agree with.
At all.
Listen to that, because I say it to you all the time, people. Socialising is getting out in public. You don't have to meet a dog. Go and sit somewhere and they can watch the world go by.
A sociable dog is a dog that can sit and watch play, watch other dogs go past, you sitting on a park bench, they're sitting at your feet or laying at your feet, and they're just like, yeah, this is cool, and then you go, okay, let's go. That's a sociable dog. The analogy I use, we're doing this today, and the analogy I use, if we went over to the local pub and we're sitting down having a drink, somebody walks in that we've never seen before and walks up and starts hugging us.
It's weird.
Excuse me?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah,
They're probably going to get something.
Yeah.
So think about that with your dogs.
I use the same thing I say to people. If someone come up to shake your hand in the middle of the street and you weren't meant to meet them, you'd be, what are you doing?
Yeah, it's weird.
People, listen to our words. You are crazy if you take your dog in public, walk them up to a dog nose to nose and wait that 3-second rule and hope for the best. Stop.
Well, I think that's where it comes down to equipment as well.
Yep.
If that tension on the lead, you have to realise that your dog is looking at everything with tension associated with it instead of a slack lead. It's no problem to walk past somebody and go, yeah, we're not meeting anybody today. I have no problem saying to people, don't touch my dog, don't pat my dog, don't come over to my dog, just don't.
Tension creates tension, I say. One more story, because they're all happening. You're bringing them out. True story. I'm at a cafe downtown. Dog's asleep, Nash is asleep. Lady walks up towards my dog, and I stopped and put my coffee down. Firstly, that was the first thing that annoyed me, and I went, stop. She goes, what's that? I just want to stop. I said, listen, my dog's asleep. You didn't ask. It's a dangerous way to meet, and I don't want my dog to meet your dog. And she goes, fine then, and sits down.
Yeah. And you're the bad one.
I didn't even have the words like that, and I'm like, how can you think I was the bad guy there?
Yep.
My dog's asleep, for one.
Yep.
Very bad way to do it.
I've seen dogs asleep bite people just because people go to pat it.
Yeah.
So if your dog's going over to sniff a dog that's asleep, it's going to get something on the face.
I'll be known to lash out if I've been asleep and you can't shake me. But
exactly.
Guys, you've got to stop these behaviours, okay? That was craziness. But along that line, think along that line. You've got to ask. I talked about my social media today and all these sorts of things about dogs off lead, why you shouldn't. But I don't want to go too much more on it. Sort of end it there because we're going to do this again and talk about other topics. Maybe cover next time.
Send more
dogs
topics
off lead.
through. Yeah,
right, there's plenty more, but we can talk about. But yeah, the dogs off lead in public, all these sorts of ones. But you know what? I think that was a great discussion day to get it started. It's good food for thought out there for people to learn from. And again, Kerry, where can you be found? Remind me again.
Pack Leader on Facebook.
Yep.
Yeah, if you've got any questions about anything that we've said today as well, shoot some questions off. We're happy to answer them.
Because we're going to do this again. I'll find other trainers. We've got other trainers in the area. And I'll talk to anyone. I would love to talk to a force-free balance trainer. I think want people to understand, I don't hate on that at all. I just feel it comes with a lot of limitations and you need to be open to other methods. The labelling's silly, but I don't want people to misunderstand that it's not about attacking people. We're not.
Because we use positive
100%.
as well because you're teaching a dog something new. You're
if I could train every dog with treats and never a lead pull, never raise, I would love to. But the reality is,
it doesn't work like that.
90% of my job is dealing with highly reactive dogs. And I just know, and I've tried it and I would love to go, here buddy, stop barking. It just doesn't work for me.
Because if you get your timing wrong, then you're rewarding something that you're probably trying to stop.
It's a bit like when your dog's barking and you're just going, it's okay, it's okay. You're reinforcing the behaviour.
Don't give your dog affection.
Just ignore it.
While it's doing something that you don't agree with, because then it's just reinforcing and rewarding.
If you're going to do anything, you're going to be correcting and redirecting it away, but you're not going to be giving affection, okay? So be aware of these things. But anyway, we could go on, we'll keep ranting, otherwise we'll stop it there. Kerry, thank you very much for the first one to get back to it. That was fun. I hope you like our lovely backdrop.
Good to finally get it.
A brick wall, pretty boring. Maybe we'll do it next time somewhere else.
Yep.
I will take the audio from this, I'll put it on Spotify as well, on podcasts. I'll send a link, I'll give Kerry a link, and we'll get it around there. So that was fun, we'll do it again soon, and we'll see you guys later on. Don't forget to check out Kerry and her pages, you know mine, you're obviously here. Jason
send your questions through.
Yeah, Jason Harris dog training everywhere, and mate, there's thousands of dogs out there, Kerry. We need more good trainers, we can't train them all, so we'll see you guys soon. See ya.
See ya.